I'll be starting with my introduction. My name is Rujuta Chitre. I'm a mental health professional. I work with kids as play therapist and I work with adults. I take counseling sessions as well. And I'm a therapist at Connect and Heal. So thank you so much, Connect and Heal, for giving me this opportunity to conduct today's webinar. So before starting the webinar, I would like to give some gist of how we are going to go about today. So today I'm going to talk about the content. I'm going to talk about co-parenting for 45 minutes. And later, after 45 minutes, 15 minutes, I'll be addressing all the doubts you have, all the queries you have. So we'll be having a question answer round. So while I'm talking, if you have any doubts or if you want to share any personal information or anything, any doubt you have, you can put it in the chat section which is there. So that can be addressed later. So we'll begin with our webinar. So today's topic is co-parenting. So when we talk about co-parenting, let's just understand what co-parenting is and how did it start. So when I talk about co-parenting, co-parenting itself was a term which was actually developed. So it was not there, but it was developed in Italy in early 21st century. So in 21st century, the Association of Separated Parents are the one who has started with the term co-parenting, where it actually meant two parents raising a child together or two parents sharing responsibility of the child in spite of the separation. So what this association of separated parents did was there were certain rights, cultural rights, social rights, or maybe economic differences which were happening, where the one parent used to get all the right, the other parent was helpless. Or there were times when parents actually wanted to do things together for the child, to raise a child together, but there were certain difficulties that were coming in the way, or as we say nowadays, custody of the child. So it was very necessary that both parents can equally participate in parenting. Both parents can share equal rights of the child. And that's why the term co-parenting was then introduced in Italy. And now it is used in our custody as well. So basically, again, I would like to tell you, co-parenting itself means that raising a child together, sharing responsibility of the child as a team, even though you are separated. Now let's see who can be the co-parent. So as I said, now there are times when your partner might not be available. There can be loss of your partner, or there can be any other reasons. So in this case, it need not to be that a co-parent is someone who has to be the genetic parent. One of the parents should be genetic. The other partner of yours can be anyone. So, for example, it can be a grandmother of the child, it can be aunt of the child. So, it can be a mother-mother relationship and a child or children. It can be a father-father relationship and the child. It can be a mother and an aunt, or a father and a grandparent, where one of the parent is the biological one and the other person can be any person who is willing to take the responsibility. Again, why I'm saying willing is because there is a lot involved when it comes to children, right? So a person who is willingly able to emotionally manage everything, to financially, to legally, to arrange the scheduling, or it can be anyone who is willingly ready to do these things, can be a co-parent. So it need not to be a mother father, it can be anyone. Now, as I told you that separation is one thing that is seen, or separation is one thing that is used when it comes to co-parenting. That the reason for it might be separation, but there are various other reasons, if not separation. So, what are the reasons? Like I told you, divorce is one such reason that can be there when it comes to co-parenting, where two parents are not able to live together, who are legally divorced, and there are certain things which you have to take. Now, there are various reasons. The other reasons involve, for example, say there can be changes in the schedule. Now, you all are working, right? So, maybe there can be changes in the entire day routine. Now, how it can be? The mother might be having day shift, the father might be having a night shift. Or the mother might be having night shift, the father might be having day shift. So, these are the changes that are there. Then, it can be that one parent goes on a tour, the other parent has to handle everything. So that tour can be maybe for a week, maybe for 3 days, maybe for a month. It can be for uncertain time for it per se. It can be 1 week for now, it can be a month for later. So these are also the changes where two parents are separated, are living together, are living separately. It can be any reason, but that is there, right? It can also be that one parent has moved due to a new job and the parent is still trying to settle into that particular place, and that's why you as a family are not able to move. It can also be maybe a temporary fight that has taken place between you and your partner, and you need to figure out, you need some time, you need to have some way out, and you're just figuring out those ways, and that's why you are living separately. So the reasons can be anything. The reasons cannot be just a divorce or just a separation. It can be changes in your schedule in a way where two of you are not able to come together, where two of you are not constantly being able to raise a child together. So the reasons can be anything. Now, when these reasons can be anything, your child or per se children are the one who are very uncertain about this, right? Or who can be helpless, or who are still trying to process, who are still trying to figure out what is happening. Because there are times when nobody is used to this, right? Nobody is used
कैमरा नहीं ऑन
to
करना.
nobody is used to say per se whatever changes that are taking place with respect to the relationship of your parents. So this is something which might be new to your child. This is something which might be very new to adapt to a situation to. So in this case we need to help the child. In this case where we have decided to co-parent, in this case we need to tell the child or see how we can help the child. So let's see how we can do that. So the first thing is being very clear with the child or your children. So when I talk about being very clear, it itself means that if I am going through a separation, or it can be a temporary situation, or it can be maybe I'll just move back again, but still we are trying to figure it out, or it can be a divorce, anything. Be very clear with the child. Both the parents sit with the child and actually discuss with the child what is going on. So how will you discuss that this is a situation which is temporary? It's new to us in the way it is new to you. It is something very uncertain to us as well, and uncertain for you for sure. But we have to figure it out. We are going to figure it out as a team. So remember, we are always a team. Remember that there is no such thing as we are broken, or there's no such thing where we will ask you just adapt to it. No, it is something which is new to us. And another thing is telling them very clearly why this is happening. So you can really tell your child that this is a divorce which has taken place, or your mom and dad are not going to be together for a small period of time, or this is something which really your mother has to do or your father has to do, and we need to understand at this point the your mother or your father needs to prioritize this thing first, and then we can figure it out. But whatever the scenario is, it is very important that you convey it to the child. Now, how it will help the child is the uncertainty of the situation is reduced. Once the uncertainty is reduced, the child will feel less helpless, and the child will not seek the explanation of it from someone else, because we don't want that, right? We don't want others to give any explanation of the change of you are going through. I'm sorry. So in this case, you can convey everything to the child, whatever is happening. Also assure them that you are available and you will be available. Now what happens with children or child, for example, that there are certain things they know that I do this only with my father, or this is something I only discuss with my mother. So for example, this particular video game I'm not able to play well, and only my mother helps me, or she knows technically how to go about it. But currently I'm living with my father, so how do I go about it? So the child might be confused. So in this case, letting the child know that I understand that we are living in such terms, but you can always call your father, or you can always call your mother, and you can have a video call, you can talk. There can be times when I do homework only with my mother, or I do homework only with my grandmother. Now I'm not comfortable with you, I do math homework only with my grandmother. So in this case, you can always tell them that even though you might be living at a different partner's place, it's okay, you're still available. It's okay, you can call, we can discuss. So it's not a black and white situation. It's not where you have to totally switch off from one place and then go to another. You can always show them that there is a gray area where you can always contact them no matter what. Next is having clear guidelines with your partner. Now, by clear guidelines, I mean to say that there will be a lot of things which you and your partner will have to decide what is best for the child. Now, again, the first thing is future decisions. Now, the decision can be anything. It need not to be a huge decision like where my child should move for a next school, or what career should the child choose. It's not about just big decisions, also about small decisions. There are certain things which you will have to wait for your partner to process, to understand, and then to reply. So in this case, decisions regarding, for example, say which hobby class my child wants to go, or which tuition class my child wants to go in, or do I buy this for my child or not, is something where you will mutually have to decide how to go about it. Again, with respect to scheduling. Now, what happens in scheduling is that, for example, who will pick up the child, who will drop the child, or who will get the child to the tuition class, who will get the child to this event. Now, this is something which you will have to discuss prior telling it to your child, where you yourself are clear how you're going to go about it. Then it can be about any social gathering, it can be about any event that is coming up. You both sit, and if you both are working, you can discuss it with your work schedule, that I'm really busy this week, or this weekend is not possible for me, or morning time is difficult for me, can we adjust in the evening time, or anything regarding the scheduling is something you can first discuss with your partner, and then it is very important to discuss with your child. Now, while discussing with your child, you will be telling your child that these are the things which are going to happen. These are the 4 responsibilities your mother is going to take care of, and there will be these responsibilities which I am going to take care of, or any other co-parent which is available, that they are going to take care of. So, first of all, are you okay with it? Are you comfortable with the decision we have taken? Do you want any change in this? So it is very important at this point where you include your child in the decision which you are taking with the partner, where you tell them that this is a thing which I have taken care of. Now you tell me if you want any change. So here there are times when the child might feel powerless, or the child might think that okay, things are really not in my control. So in a way we are telling the child that no, you are equally in part of it, you are equally a part of it, and your children or child has constantly has to be reminded that this is a team. So there is no such thing as because we are separated you have to choose a side, or because we are separated you do not have to come in the decisions, we have to figure out decisions as we are adults. No, you are in it too, and you can give your decision. So that is one thing which can be done with the child. The next thing, or the best thing, if we want to do to normalize the situation, is letting the child know that there are different types of families. Now, how that can be done? Now, there are many families. Now, I'm very proud to say that CBSE third standard textbook has introduced different kind of families. Now it has been done. But earlier, as we know, in India especially, there is a mindset that a mother, a father, and a child, or the sibling, are family. If there is a single mother and child, there is always some missing part we see, because that is how we are trained to see family, right? That is how we are taught as children to look at something as family. But in this case, a lot of things have changed. A lot of things has taken place. As I said, the third standard textbook, CBSE textbook, English textbook, has introduced this concept of different types of families. So in this case, when everything is going new for the child, or the child has to take some time off, you can tell the child that there are different types of family, where some family has a mother and a mother, so there are two mothers. Some family has a father and a child. There will be times when a single father and a child is also a family. Uh, a couple can also be a family. A mother, that is women, and her pet can also be called family. So this is something which does not describe that having a whole package of mom, dad, sibling, and child is something as family. No, let's go beyond that. So even though now you are living with your mother, grandparent, or father, aunt, etc., and you're going back and forth, we are still family. So we believe that the concept is just not about whether we live in a particular roof, but it itself means that we still do function as a family. Now, there are times when, as I said, that the responsibility of you and your partner or taking care of the child will be divided. Now, again, I won't say it will be equal, but it will be totally depending on how the scheduling of yours is, or the lifestyle of yours is. So it will be dependent on that. But at the same time, or try certain things where you do or where you attend events of your child's life which are really important as a couple. As a couple, I mean being together. As a couple, I mean being there for the child. So I won't say that attend every marriage anniversary or marriage, for example, wedding, for example, say, or any big parties. It's not necessary. It's not necessary to burden yourself with that. But again, events which are important to your child. So the child's birthday party is something which you can attend together. Then it can be maybe annual gathering of the child. If it can be a graduation of the child, if your child is a teen or if your child is an adult, then you can attend important events of their life together. So I know there can be a lot of things that might not be possible, but whenever it's possible, just see to it that you guys be there for the child as a couple for that particular event. So as I know that you all are working, there are chances that your partners are working as well. Or if not working, everybody has something or other to do. So in this case, most of the parents do have one particular complaint or one particular concern, I should say, that they have is I do not get to spend more time with my child. Or because I'm working, I need to multitask. Or there are times when especially when it comes to co-parenting, the parent might say that I'm doing my work also, as well as I'm attending the needs of my child, as well as I'm looking after the housework, as well as I have other things to do. So here I'm multitasking, and I feel guilty for not spending time with my child. So many of the parents do say this. So in this case, the one of the main thing I want to tell you is here completely the quality time will matter and not the quantity time. So by quality time, I mean basically when I say about quality and quantity, there are parents who are at home, there are parents who are available, but they might be on their own work. Or when the child comes to them and says how my day was, they might be in their phone or they might be doing their own work. They might be watching series or they might be cooking and they don't want to attend to me right now. So they spend the whole day. But here we need to see the quality of it. With working parents, I'm sure by the end of the day you want to have some quality time, like you have done your work, and I understand that there might be another load of work which is waiting for you, but then the need for that quality time is something that we will understand. And especially when it comes to co-parenting, when you know that there are certain things, there are certain tasks which are divided. So in this case, quality time, what does it mean? That giving priority to what your child likes. Now your child can be, if your child is a kid, if your child is if your child likes to play, then in this case the quality time will be playing with the child. At the same time, something which is relaxing for you. So for example, you can play clay with your child, or asking the child how your day was, or telling about your day can be a quality time. Then maybe cooking together something whenever there is weekend, you can maybe spend some time together cooking. Then it can be watching a favorite movie of your child. It can also mean if your child is a teen or if your child is an adult or even a kid for that matter, then you both can play a video game together, or you both can do anything which the child likes. And the child comes to you and asks that what do we do now, or I'm getting bored, let's do something. Ask them what would they like to do. So maybe you can take some time off and do something they like, engage in something, take interest. Oh, so you follow this YouTuber, let's watch videos. Or why do you like this video game, let's play it. Or which is your favorite movie, have you seen the new movie that has come up, so can we watch that? So now even if you give 2-3 hours, or not even 2-3 hours, for example, even if you give 1 hour and where you do nothing, where you keep all the gadgets off, where you keep everything off and just give that quality time, I'm sure the guilt will reduce. Because I understand, especially working and co-parenting is something which is not an easy task to do, but again something which is relaxing to you as well as which is providing the need of the child is something which can be addressed. All right. So, yeah. So this is something where quality time matters and not quantity. Next is being flexible. Now, as I said, that when you're staying at a particular house, when your child or your children are staying at a particular house, what happens is I have my own set of rules. All right. So at my place, I'll have dinner at 8 o'clock. So my child will have dinner at 8 o'clock. When my child goes to the partner's house or any co-parent's house, their rules are going to be different. So they might be having dinner, for example, at 10 o'clock. It can be any time. It can be anything regarding the schedule where I follow it at my place. My co-partner or my co-parent is someone who have their own rules, or everyone has different schedule, right? So in this case, being flexible. So for example, if I ask the child to not eat Maggie as a snack, all right, I know I'm not a strict one. So if I give a thing where you're not supposed to eat Maggie during snack, and the co-parent, when the child goes to the co-parent, they can allow the child to have snack. In this case, you have to be very flexible, that there are certain things, there are certain rules which are mine, which do take place at my house, which is something which I can apply. Where the child goes there, the other parent has to handle it. So the other parent can go their way also. In this case, what happens is you do not interrupt what the other parent is saying or doing. So in this case, you do not send a message that whatever I am doing is right, whatever I am doing is something strict and you have to follow this way. No, it's okay that the other parent has some other rules and you have some other rules, but you need to respect the boundaries where it works only in your house and it works with your child when the child is in your house. If the child goes there, it's okay, they can have their own rule. So this is a flexibility which will have to take care of. I understand everyone is possessive about their child in a way where you have to take care of the child and you have certain rules because of certain reasons. I get it. They might also be having certain rules because of certain reasons. So let's keep it different so that the child does not get confused so as to whom to follow or what do I do, or I don't want to start a fight. I don't want to feel guilty because I don't know whom to rely for on decision making. So we'll not create that havoc for the child. Teaching skill of waiting is something I would like to introduce not just for co-parenting but parenting in general. So in this case, what happens is when a child demands anything, or children, when they demand anything, there is an immediate need of gratification. There is a need that, you know what, I want it right now. So it need not to be anything materialistic, but I'm hungry, I want food, I want it right now. Or I want to have water, I'm thirsty, give it to me right now. And it cannot be the way I'm saying, but it can also be like, pani do, please, mummy, pani do na. So it can go that way, right? So in this case, especially during co-parenting, what happens is you need to tell the child, you need to teach the child the skill of waiting. Waiting, why? Because there will be certain decisions which you will have to take for the child, and you also want your partner to take part in it. Now, for example, if your child sees that there is maybe a painting class which is opening near your house, all right, and the admissions are due tomorrow. So by tomorrow, you'll have to register, or else the entries won't be there. And you desperately want to join. And you tell your mom, you know what, we'll stop it today and we'll immediately join the class. In this case, you don't have to say anything. So don't say yes, neither do say no. What you have to say is you are supposed to wait. So in waiting, I'm not the only one who is taking the decision. In this case, you'll ask to have your father too. You'll have to ask your grandparent or your aunt too. And when she or he is comfortable saying yes, or when they say yes, then maybe we can think about it, or then maybe we can go ahead with the procedure. So it can be anything that has been done. Ask your child to just wait. There need not to be an immediate no, this cannot be done, or okay, yes, let's do it, let's just get done. So here we are also working on the child's frustration level, where children with low frustration tolerance are generally the one who become impatient, or generally the one that when faced with a problem, they will might just go blank because they are so used to immediate gratification. They are so used to something where I asked it and I want it, and I'm supposed to get it. And if things don't work out that way, then the child will get frustrated. So this is something even so in this case, the adult, when the child grows up, the adult also get frustrated that why am I not getting this? Why is it not happening? Why are people not understanding me? But because they really don't know the skill of waiting, the skill of just like wait, we'll figure it out. Wait, there is something where it will get gratified, but I just have to wait for the other person to say something. So especially as I said, co-parenting. In co-parenting, we need a lot of waiting. So you just have to wait till it happens. We need to wait till we ask the other partner, and then we will take the decision. Okay. Now, after all this is done, after you have mutually decided what are the responsibilities you are going to share and how we are going to go about it, how we manage the scheduling, and you have told the child everything and you are going about it, it is also very important to acknowledge your partner. Now, it's not easy for both of you, or it's not easy for anyone who's willing to take this responsibility. It's not easy to multitask. It's not easy to know their ways also, our ways also, and to manage everything. So, in this case, acknowledging in a way where there can be times where you have to be very flexible that listen, I had decided to have this weekend with the child or children, but it's not really possible. So, can you do this for this week only? It can be any favors you ask for. It is very necessary that you just say thank you. If not thank you, maybe just a pat, maybe anything which tells that I acknowledge your efforts. This is something which is not easy, and I acknowledge that how we are maybe adjusting to it. So just a bit acknowledgement also helps you to go ahead that okay, I am in it. At the same time, the other person is also going through the same thing. So this is something which can be done with your partner. Now, whatever I have discussed are all the do's what are there in co-parenting, which I'll just quickly summarize what were they. So it was basically explaining the child everything that is going on around you, so the child does not get confused about co-parenting. It also means that being very clear with the guidelines with your partner, that what are we going to decide, how are we going to go about it, and at the same time involving the child, that are you okay with the change that is happening. Again, certain things, being flexible with your own rules, being flexible with your own lifestyle is something which can be done. Acknowledging your partner. So these were all the do's which you can do when it comes to co-parenting. Of course, there are certain don'ts which are there. Now let's see what are the don'ts of co-parenting. Letting the child to be a messenger. Now what happens in this case is because the child goes back and forth, or because the child stays a few days there living a different lifestyle, or spending time together with a different person, there can be certain things which you don't like, and it's all right. Like there are certain things which you cannot conform to everything, right? So there are certain things which you don't like about it. So in this case, passively telling the child that, oh, who did this? Your father. Please tell him not to do this next time. So in this case, you are asking the child to take responsibility of something and then telling the father. Now what happens is the father is the one who becomes the bad cop here. Like the child should not be a messenger where the child gets confused so as to whom do I listen to, or like why am I in the middle, why is everyone telling me the concern, or why do I have to pass it, and when I have to pass it, I'm not comfortable passing it. So not necessarily that we actively engage in it, not necessarily that we actively ask the child that, you know what, send this message to your father. No, but we do it in a very passive way. Or any other co-parent might say, this is something I do not like about your mom. Or this is something, this schedule is really not good for you. This food is not good for you. Please tell your mom. So from next time, please tell your mom that she's not supposed to give you this. So in this case, it's not the child's responsibility to tell it to the other partner. The child values both of you equally, and the child does not want to form a negative image of the other partner, and does not really is not comfortable being the messenger. So in this case, even if you want to say anything about your partner, to convey anything about your partner, it's better you convey it to them directly. So as I said about messenger, another thing is bad mouthing or gossiping. Again, we do not do it actively. We do not actually sit with the child and say, you know what, your father is doing this, or your mother is doing this, or your grandmom is doing it, and I'm not comfortable. But there are times when your child might be in and around the space, or maybe in the room, but they are active. They do listen. And maybe you're talking on the phone, or maybe you're venting it out to someone. You can vent out. Obviously, you can't. You can. But in this case, just have a look around that my child is not around, or my children are not around. Because when you gossip, you don't want your child to hear those things about your parent, right? Of course, there are differences. The child knows about it, and that's why the child understands the situation. That's why you have told the child. That is what we first do. We have told them about the differences, and they do know that you do not like certain things about your partner. That's why there is a temporary separation or maybe a permanent separation. So in this case, there is not necessary to have a reminder for your child constantly that this is the thing which I don't like, or this is the thing which I really don't care about, or these are the bad habits your partner is having. So in this case, you have to be very careful that there is less of gossiping, less of bad mouthing that is taking place. Next is don't let the child choose sides. What happens is, and this is not just in co-parenting, it happens in general also, where we simply ask the child, "तू बता कौन सही है?" So there are times when, you know what, whom do you think is the cool person? और whom do you think is a fun parent? और तुझे किसके साथ मजा आता है? या फिर मूवी किसके साथ देखने में मजा आता है? या so basically it itself means that you have to choose, right? It can be a fun thing you might have started with. It can be a serious thing which you might have started with. But there are times when you just ask the child to choose sides. Now, what happens in this case is the child will give an answer. The child might not, but there are times when the child will give answer. That answer might be something which will lead to a lot of guilt. So if the answer is, you know what, my father is more cool than you. In this case, you're letting the child the power of making you feel guilty. Like the child feels guilty for taking sides. And the child do not want to do that. So they might show that, you know what, I do not understand, or you know what, I don't really care, or why are you asking such questions. But in this case, you really are creating that helplessness where you're asking them to choose sides, which is not active as such, but in a passive way where you're asking who is what. So in this case, it really brings guilt on the child that I really do not want to choose. Even though we all have sides, even though we all know that one parent is this and one parent might be that, or anything, we don't want to say it loud, right? So in this case, don't let the child also say it loud. If you are in a situation or in a situation where you are being asked to choose right in front of them, or if one parent is asking, you're not comfortable. Are we? We are not. We're really not. It's very awkward for us. In the same way, it is awkward for the child. It will not gratify you if the child says that, you know what, I choose you. It will give you maybe a temporary satisfaction, but it will create guilt in the child. So don't let the child choose sides. Next thing is respecting each other's work schedule. Now, as I know that you are working parents and your partner might also be working, as I said. So there are times when the schedules might change. There can be a video call meeting, or there can be any meeting which have taken up, or you want to finish up a PPT, anything that can come up, which is apart from the weekdays. So generally, I would suggest that you don't get work at home. If you're not doing it, I'm glad. If you're doing it, see to it that you also have a fixed time where you finish off your work and give some time. Now, what happens here? Again, I want to emphasize the quality time matters and not the quantity. So, I understand that your work scheduling can be different. Now, especially during lockdown, you might be having work from home, right? So, in this case, you really want to be in that setup where you work from home and then you're done with it and then you shift. But your child, if your kid is small, the child might not understand the shift. Or now the child might have gotten used to it, but the child might not understand the shift. The child will come to talk to you, or the child will ask, do I video call this person? Do I video call this co-parent and ask something, anything? In this case, be very clear that listen, this is the timing which I'll be working in. Once you are done with it, I'll have a proper playtime with you. So decide a proper playtime, for example, say 5 to 7, where I will play with you, where I will play cards with you, or let's play Scrabble together, or let's play a video game together. So evening is for you, or for example, morning is for you. But my work time is my work time. Also, if you want to have a video call or call with your father or your mother, first we need to ask them, are they in work? Are they in some other call? Are they in meeting? And once we confirm that they are not, then maybe we can see to it that we can call or not call or anything. but respecting each other's work schedule, letting your partner know that I won't be available from 3 to 4 because I have a Skype call. So if my child calls me, let them know that I'm not available. So giving these things prior really helps for the misunderstanding, for to avoid the misunderstanding or to avoid any frustrations that might be there. So when I talk about co-parenting, one of the big example which everybody can see, that's why I'm giving this example, is of Hrithik Roshan and Suzanne. So as you all know that, so they are divorced. They are divorced in 2013, I guess. Yeah. And due to lockdown, Suzanne has come to Hrithik's place. So this was one of the best example I found on co-parenting, where Hrithik had written an Instagram caption where he had mentioned that I couldn't imagine if Susan wasn't there during this lockdown, where there were certain things which I was clueless about. There were certain things she does it at her best. There are certain things which I do as my best. And deciding mutually or having this thing where, you know what, currently my priority is my children. So what I need to do is I can leave my house temporarily. I can go to his house. It's very uncertain period. It is again very temporarily. She has not decided obviously. But again, this is something where this is a situation where I need to be there for my kids. So I guess this is one of the big example of co-parenting where you're not together, but you decide something on mutual consent where you are together for that particular time. Now, this was because of the lockdown. It can be various such other reasons where it is not possible for you to live in separate houses or have a separate place or physical space. There can be times when the other parent wants the kid, but physically it is not possible. It can be maybe you're living on rent, maybe you're living with 3 4 other roommates. It can be anything. In this case, again, as I said, uh, you'll have to adjust. So the child can be with anyone. You can mutually go to their place and stay, or maybe ask the child that listen, we'll be on video call for few days. We are going to arrange something, but we'll work out together. So this is something where, as a team, remember, as a team, you have to come up. So what happened was the custody which is there. Our court does give custody, right? Whenever a divorce happens. So in this case, during lockdown, which is a very uncertain thing, the custody knew what to do when it comes to Mother's Day, when it comes to Father's Day, when it comes to birthday, when it comes to certain events. The custody does allow flexibility. All right. So if the custody is completely to the father, the child is allowed to meet the mother on Mother's Day, and vice versa. It can be anything. So what happened during this lockdown is the custody itself is very flexible now. So the custody themselves are telling that, you know what, let's be flexible. It is very important to have the children or the child's health priority first. So in this case, if I have given the right that the child is going to be at the father's the entire time, and if the father has to go to work, for example, the father might be in IT or anywhere. In this case, a mother has the right to take over the custody temporarily. Again, if you're not together and you're not together for a long period of time, where social distancing is something which we have to follow, so you're not going to meet the child for such a long period of time, in that case you can be together. So figure it out, the house, figure out the place where you're going to stay in, but be together. You can be together. So here the custody itself is now being flexible, where you can decide how to go about co-parenting.
Doctor, unmute yourself.
Hello.
Uh, uh,
Yeah.
Please do not unmute the doctor. Please, someone had muted you.
So you could not hear the entire lecture?
No, no, I could. Just
Okay.
the last two, three sentences.
All right. All right. So
You can
now,
continue. Yes,
now
yes, you can
actually
continue.
everybody, yeah. So that is what I said, that we are done with the content today. So if you have any doubts, if you have any concerns, you can share it in the chat. So if anyone wants to ask anything, they are free to do so. I hope this information was helpful for you, and it was not just about co-parenting, but I understand that there are certain situations, like for example, this lockdown is something which we are uncertain of, and again, as I said, you are our working parents, your partner might be working. So these are whatever I told about the do's and don'ts is something which you can follow currently also. So this is something which will help you manage if your child is really not comfortable with the situation, or if you're having small disputes. I understand that can be there in the house, so it can be manageable at this time also.
Doctor, I have a question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
What about you spoke about parents and about the child, but
Hmm.
there is because we live in an Indian society, there is also involvement of the other members of the family, like the grandparents of the child, and
Yeah.
sometimes the in-laws may be not happy with the daughter-in-law, and
Hmm.
sometimes it is the other side of the story, like the son-in-law is somebody they always blame about. So in this case, there is a lot of influence on the child. So
Hmm.
how does that partner who is taking care of the custody of the child will cope up, and how will that partner kind of make that child positive about everything? Because these are the things which keep on happening into a joint family or
Correct.
any family. So
Correct.
please highlight something on that part.
Sure. So yes, as you said that in Indian family this will take place, especially after the separation. What happens is everybody has some of the bitterness that has been there due to the situation, right? And as I said, we do not actually. You might actually not actively tell your child something, some gossiping or bad mouthing about the family, but there are times when you passively do it. But the child do hears it, but the child do understands it. So in this case, what can be done? First thing is discussing with your partner. This is basically healthy boundary setting, where you discuss with your partner that this is something which is not going to help the child. So bad mouthing or gossiping is something, as I said, the first thing, being very clear with the guidelines that this is something which is going to influence the child. So even the in-laws or even the other family, if you take the concern of the child that listen, it's not about me, but the child feel helpless, the child might feel guilty, or the child has to choose the sides, and for the child it's not healthy. For a child to know bad things or negative behaviors of the mother or bad habits of the mother is not something which is healthy for the child. So you might not want to do it for the partner, but you are harming the child. And if you care for the child, it is not healthy to discuss such things. So bringing the child concerns might be helpful in this case.
Thank you, doctor. That was helpful.
Thank you so much. Are there any other questions?
Hello.
Yeah, Shivani, say.
Doctor, I just wanted to ask that what is the right age for a parent to teach their child to be independent,
Hmm.
like doing their work themselves? What would be the right age?
All right. So if you ask about right age, there is no such law or there is no such thing as okay. So this is the right age, but it is very important that it starts as early as possible. So by independent, it will not be in a case where you teach the child when the child is in third grade or fourth grade that listen, there are certain things which you have to do on your own. No, the child might not get adapted to it because the child is used to getting things right. So right from the beginning, right when the child knows that there are certain things which a child can do. For example, the child starts walking, grabbing things, or exploring the world. When the child is say 1 year, 2 year, etc., you teach them independence in a way where you can stand up on your own, or you know what, you can go to the toy. I'm here to support you, Or, oh, you want water? Okay, let's go. You get the mug, I'll pour the water. So
Okay.
these are the small stages where you are teaching independence in a way. So you don't have
Hmm.
to teach independence as a separate concept to them when they grow up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the child here knows that, okay, my mother or father are there to support me, but I will do it. I will go for the first thing. So this starts with small things, small tasks, and then it goes further as, okay, now I'm independent. I can do these things.
But in case the child is reluctant, so does
Hmm.
it mean that he is not ready for that?
There can be times when the child is not ready for it. It can be maybe it is something sudden to me, or maybe there are times when I don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it. The child can be reluctant. So in this
Okay.
case, okay, no problem. If you don't want to do it, we will wait. You do
Hmm.
it maybe a day later or 2 days later. It's okay. You can take your time. But in this case, you just have to be firm enough that this is something which I'm not going to do. I will
Hmm.
support you for doing it, but this is something I'm not going to do. You can wait for 1 hour, you can wait for 1 day. If it is
Hmm.
something of which is of your priority, it's up to you.
Okay.
So there can be
Okay.
various reasons. So you can explore those reasons why the child is not ready to do it. But if the child is reluctant, you also have to be firm enough that, listen, you can take your time and say it very nicely. That it's
Hmm.
okay, take your time, no problem. I'm there.
Okay. Thank you, doctor. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Doctor, can you give one more answer on
Yeah.
how, say, for example, you spoke about separation, and
Hmm.
one of the partner moves ahead in life, they
Yeah.
get some other partner, and then there is this child who is little bit of into the confusion because of course he is a child. So in
Correct.
that way, how important it is to take the child's concern by the both the parents and the new one who is coming. How is this adjustment going to take place, and how to go about that?
All right, very nice question. As I said about adjustment, this is something where you first assure the child that it is something new to me. So, as a parent, it can be your co parent also. You both can sit together. It can be anyone, your aunt or a grandparent, where you first assure them that it is something new to me as well. So, I'm not a pro at it, or I will not be the best one who will tell you, yeah, this is how you're supposed to do it. It's new for you as well. So there is going to be uncertainty, there are going to be changes, and we are not going to adapt to it easily. We'll have to figure it out, obviously. But again, being very clear, also, if your child is a small child, like if your child is in the age where you can have a role play or a clay play or any play where your child is really small, in this case, what we do is having a role play where you can have a setup where you can ask the child that, you know what, this is your grandparent, this is your mother and your father, and they will be living in two houses, so you have a privilege to go here also at the same time here also, and the reason for it is explained to you. So this is something new, but let's try it on. So this is where it will help the child to adjust in a way where you are very clear with the child. Again, hide nothing from the child, because hiding will bring uncertainty. So through role play, maybe through play, maybe you can introduce the child small changes that are taking place, and constantly reminding the child that yes, it is something new. So we will figure it out together. So maybe this constant assurance and being clear will help the child to adjust. The emotional concerns is something you will have to sit with the child. The child is old enough, you can ask the child what exact concerns they are going through. If not, you can always ask a kid to draw what they feel, or to project through a story how they feel, because children might not consciously say that, okay, this is the problem I am facing, what do I do? So that's why I said maybe a play with them, maybe a kitchen play, maybe a house play, where a child will tell you in a very passive way that I have these problems, what do I do? So even you give them solution through play. So that is something where emotional concerns of the child can be addressed.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So do we have other questions?
Doctor, if we don't have any more questions, I think we can close the session. No problem.
All right, all right. Thank you so much for having me here.